Donald Trump appeared visibly decrepit and demented during yesterday's cabinet meeting, falling asleep at least 9 separate times while incoherently rambling about golden ballrooms and a massive personal arch near Arlington. Then later defended pardoning convicted Honduran narco-trafficker President Juan Orlando Hernandez as the Speaker Mike Johnson stood beside him only to flee reporters hours later, claiming total ignorance. The Trump White House is spiraling into open chaos, with the president displaying alarming physical and mental deterioration in public, while his administration contradicts itself daily on everything from illegal military strikes to pardons for drug lords. Footage from Tuesday's cabinet meeting analyzed by The Washington Post shows Trump dozing off repeatedly as Russ Vought doodled and Pete Hegseth's placard displayed 2 ominous S's. Hours later in the Oval Office, Trump slurred through bizarre tangents about building the world's greatest ballroom and a tribute arch while soliciting donations from billionaires. The same day, he casually justified pardoning a convicted cocaine-trafficking former president of Honduras who worked with El Chapo, claiming it was reversing a Biden witch hunt as Speaker Johnson nodded along before sprinting from questions. Contradictions exploded when the Pentagon's new press secretary Kingsley Wilson admitted Trump and Hegseth personally directed strikes that killed non-threatening survivors, directly contradicting their earlier denials. Trump's midnight 400-post meltdown followed his attack on the Midas Touch network, revealing a president unraveling under pressure as his physical ailments, bandaged hand, repeated abdominal MRIs, fuel speculation about serious health decline. Meanwhile, his regime's cruelty was exposed when they stole Sabrina Carpenter's music for anti-immigrant propaganda, earning her public disgust and 41 million views of condemnation. During Tuesday's cabinet meeting, Trump slept through large portions, with The Washington Post documenting 9 separate instances totaling 10 to 15% of the session, while his face appeared ashen and his bandaged hand trembled. OMB Director Russ Vought was caught doodling extensively, and Pete Hegseth's name placard inexplicably displayed 2 S's, raising eyebrows among observers. In the Oval Office, Trump veered into incoherent rambling about building golden ballrooms the White House has supposedly wanted for 150 years and a massive arch near Arlington as a tribute, while begging Michael Dell and other billionaires for contributions. He repeatedly referenced trucks making clanging noises outside and promised the ballroom would hold far more than the current 109-person limit. When pressed on pardoning Juan Orlando Hernandez convicted of narco-trafficking with El Chapo, Trump dismissed the 45-year sentence as a Biden witch hunt, claiming many Hondurans asked him to do it, as Speaker Johnson stood silently beside him. Hours later, Johnson fled reporters, claiming total ignorance of the pardon despite being physically present. The Pentagon's new press secretary Kingsley Wilson held her first briefing in front of right-wing propagandists after legitimate outlets boycotted the regime's demand to edit their work and openly stated Trump and Hegseth directed strikes that killed survivors, contradicting their previous claims of no knowledge. In Honduras, Trump's preferred right-wing candidate trails the centrist as Trump screams fraud despite his own interference attempts. Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff met Russian agents in Moscow, pushing a Ukraine surrender plan that was rejected with no second Putin-Trump meeting planned. Inside the cabinet room, fluorescent lights illuminated Trump's sagging face as his eyes fluttered shut 9 separate times, his head nodding forward, while cabinet members spoke around him, with Russ Vought furiously doodling on notepads and Pete Hegseth's placard mysteriously bearing 2 S's. The room grew awkwardly quiet during Trump's prolonged dozing episodes as cameras captured his bandaged hand resting limply on the table amid claims of preventative abdominal MRIs that medical experts say do not exist. Hours later in the Oval Office, Trump slouched behind the resolute desk, his speech slurred and repetitive, fixating on golden ballrooms and a massive tribute arch near Arlington, while gesturing wildly about construction trucks making banging noises outside. Speaker Mike Johnson stood rigid beside him as Trump casually defended pardoning a convicted narco-president, claiming it was just because drug dealers existed in Honduras. Reporters watched Johnson sprint away afterward, dodging questions in the White House driveway. At the Pentagon's briefing room, right-wing influencers like Laura Loomer and a man drinking beer filled seats vacated by Reuters, AP, and major outlets protesting censorship as Rookie Press Secretary Kingsley Wilson nervously confirmed presidential direction of strikes that killed survivors. In Moscow, Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff sat across from Russian agents, including Yuri Ushakov, pushing Ukraine's surrender terms that were flatly rejected. Back home, Trump's phone glowed through the night as he fired off 400 deranged posts following his attack on independent media. Speaker Mike Johnson fled reporters in visible panic after standing beside Trump during the narco pardon defense, later claiming complete ignorance despite his physical presence revealing either dishonesty or dangerous detachment. MAGA Republicans like Don Bacon and Roger Wicker expressed horror at reports of survivors being killed, demanding accountability at the top, and suggesting Secretary Hegseth should resign, contradicting earlier denials of knowledge. The Washington Post's detailed supercut of Trump's 9 sleeping episodes spread rapidly across social media, amplifying concerns about his fitness as his bandaged hand and repeated MRIs fueled health speculation. Sabrina Carpenter publicly condemned the White House for stealing her music for anti-immigrant propaganda, calling it evil and disgusting, as her response garnered 41 million views, dwarfing the regime's reach. In Honduras, the centrist candidate surged ahead, prompting Trump to scream fraud, while his own interference efforts collapsed. Pentagon correspondents boycotted briefings in protest of censorship requirements, leaving only regime-friendly propagandists asking softball questions. Admiral Frank Bradley delivered classified briefings to Congress about the strikes as his predecessor had abruptly resigned months earlier under mysterious circumstances. Trump's deranged fundraising emails featuring AI images of himself mailing letters in snow and fake Founders Club invitations exposed the desperate grift behind the chaos. Trump's 9 documented sleeping episodes combined with slurred, incoherent speech about ballrooms and arches reveal a president in visible cognitive and physical decline that no amount of preventative MRI spin can hide. The bandaged hand and repeated abdominal scans suggest serious undisclosed health issues that the regime dismisses with medically impossible explanations. Speaker Johnson's flight from questions after standing beside Trump during the narco pardon defense exposes either calculated deception or terrifying incompetence at the highest levels of government. The Pentagon press secretary's direct contradiction of Trump and Hegseth on strike authorization proves either deliberate lying or dangerous disconnect in the chain of command regarding potential war crimes. Pardoning a convicted El Chapo collaborator while claiming witch hunt reversal fits Trump's pattern of protecting strongmen and drug-linked figures regardless of evidence. The 2 S's on Hegseth's placard and Russ Vought's obsessive doodling hint at cabinet-level disengagement and possible coded messaging within a deteriorating administration. Stealing Sabrina Carpenter's music for propaganda while earning her public denunciation and 41 million views of condemnation reveals a regime so desperate and cruel it alienates even apolitical pop stars. Democratic overperformance in deep red districts like Tennessee and the Roswell, Georgia mayoral flip signal massive backlash building toward midterm tsunami. The image of America's president dozing through cabinet meetings while his regime pardons narco-presidents and lies about war crimes leaves a nauseating stain that no golden ballroom can wash away. Trump's slurred arch fantasies and midnight 400-post meltdowns reveal a man crumbling in real time as his speaker flees questions and his Pentagon contradicts his lies. The 2 S's on Hegseth's placard and Vought's frantic doodling linger like symptoms of a government rotting from within. Sabrina Carpenter's 41 million view condemnation exposes the regime's cruelty as so blatant it repulses even pop stars, while young voters flee in droves. Democratic surges in blood-red Tennessee and Georgia mayoral flips taste like the first drops of a coming blue tsunami. The bandaged hand, the sleeping episodes, the incoherent rambling about arches near Arlington all coalesce into a portrait of imperial decay, accelerating toward collapse. This is no longer a functioning administration, but a cruel and unusual regime grifting through fake clubs, and stolen music as the world watches America's shame in real time.